Mangwanani Mwalelepo Vukenjani Kleklas Vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Ashwin Betty on Friday, the 15th of November, and these are some of the stories that we are looking at. I blame the church for my brother's death, says a Zimbabwean sister of UK child abuse victim. South Africa declines aid for thousands of illegal miners in closed mine. And Mali's junta chief elevates himself to the top army rank. Follow all our programs on oneup2.com, DSTV 285, GoTV 25 in Namibia. We also have stories from Mike Sichula, our correspondent in Zambia, and Rorisang Mohojwe, our correspondent in Botswana. This is Africa Good Morning. Top stories shortly.
Neopaints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neopaints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neopaints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
Getting into our top stories, the sister of a 16-year-old boy who drowned while swimming naked at a Christian holiday camp in Zimbabwe run by child abuser John Smith blames the Church of England for his death. The church knew about the abuses that John Smith was doing. They should have stopped him. Had they stopped him, I think my brother Guide Nyachuru would still be alive, Edith Nyachuru told the BBC. The British barrister had moved to Zimbabwe with his wife and 4 children from Winchester in England in 1984 to work with an evangelistic organization. This was 2 years after an investigation revealed he had subjected boys in the UK, many of whom he had met at a Christian holiday camps run by a charity he chaired that was linked to the church, to traumatic physical, psychological and sexual abuse. The 1982 report prepared by Anglican clergyman Mark Ruston about the caning said the scale and severity of the practice was horrific, with accounts of boys beaten so badly they bled, with one describing how he needed to wear nappies until his wounds scabbed over. Despite these shocking revelations, mainly involving boys from elite British public schools, the Ruston report was not widely circulated. A decade on, aged 50, Smith had established himself as a respected member of the Christian community in Zimbabwe. He had set up his organization Zabezi Ministries with funding from the UK and was meting out similar punishments at camps that he marketed at the country's top schools. Nyachuru says her brother's trip had been an early Christmas present from one of his other sisters who had picked up one of Smith's brochures and been impressed with all the activities on offer for that week. A truly horrific story. South Africa's government says it will not help an estimated 4,000 illegal miners inside a closed mine in the country's northwest province who have been denied access to basic supplies as part of an official strategy against illegal mining. The miners in the mine shaft in Stilfontein are believed to be suffering from a lack of food, water and other necessities after police closed off the entrances used to transport their supplies underground. It is part of the police's Fala Umgodi, or close the hole operation, which includes cutting off miners' supplies to force them to return to the surface and be arrested. Northwest Police spokesperson Sabata Mohwabone said information received from those who recently helped bring 3 miners to the surface indicated that as many as 4,000 miners may be underground. Police have not provided an official estimate. In the past few weeks, over 1,000 miners have surfaced at various mines in Northwest Province, with many reported to be weak, hungry and sickly after going for weeks without basic supplies. Police continued to guard areas around the mine to catch all those appearing from underground. Cabinet Minister Khumbudzo Ntshavheni told reporters on Wednesday that the government would not send any help to the illegal miners because they are involved in a criminal act. We are not sending help to criminals. We are going to smoke them out. They will come out. Criminals are not to be helped. We didn't send them there, Ntshavheni said. Now, that statement of Ntshavheni's has been opposed by several members of her party, the DA. Now, Saudi Arabia is changing plans for mega city Neom to cut costs and prioritize building for international sporting events. The Middle Eastern country will focus on completing a 1.5-mile stretch of development, including a stadium expected to host soccer's 2034 World Cup, Reuters reported on Thursday, citing people familiar with the project. Now, plans for Neom were changed in September and October to integrate the World Cup stadium, a source told the news outlet. Another priority is completing a mountain resort slated to host the Asian Winter Games in 2029. The report comes 2 days after Neom said, without giving a reason, that its longtime CEO abruptly left the project. The $500 billion mega project was slated to house 9 million people, about the same population as New York City. It includes several regions, including the Line, a proposed 106-mile horizontal structure clad in mirrors. Neom was planned to accommodate sub 1.5 million people by 2030, but that number is thought to have been scaled back considerably as costs for the project have ballooned. Estimates for Neom have swelled to as much as $1.5 trillion. The city is a key part of Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 project that aims to diversify the kingdom's economy away from oil by launching new industries and attracting more tourists. After the break, we're going to be receiving the stories from Mike Sichula in Zambia. Stay with us.
Irango Med is a leading distributor working in partnership with NewMed and WestMed to meet the comprehensive needs of the Namibian healthcare sector. As a partner pursuing sustainable global healthcare, we offer industry-leading medical solutions through our key focus areas, which include pharmaceuticals, orthopedics, ophthalmology, surgical devices and capital equipment, as well as a well-established scientific laboratory division. In healthcare, Irango Med is committed to making a difference. What about you?
Africa, good morning to our dear viewers. My first story is about the Abraham Index, which has ranked Zambia among 13 countries with good governance record on the African continent. According to the latest Abraham Index of African Governance report, Zambia is among countries with a better score in 2023 than 2014. The report says the rate of improvement has been increasing since 2019. The Abraham Index of African Governance assesses governance performance in each African country over a period of 10 years. The 2024 report ranked Mauritius as the second best governed country on the African continent. Moving on to my second story, in a bid to instill discipline among young people, the government has introduced voluntary military training. The program aims to instill discipline and resilience among young people to address challenges such as the mushrooming of street children. And President Hakainde Hichilema hopes that the program will make it easy for interested youths to access training in other security and defense wings such as the Zambia Army, the Zambia Air Force, the Zambia National Service, including the Zambia Police. Moving on to my third story, the government and trade unions have agreed to award civil servants a salary increment of about $20. The salary increment of 500 kwacha, which is equivalent to $20, is across the board, across all civil servants working in government, and it will take effect on 1st January 2025. According to union representative Mr. Joy Bene, he said 23 unions and the government reached an agreement to award civil servants a salary increment after holding negotiations for many months. Mr. Bene explained that the unions decided to reach a compromise owing to the current economic challenges facing the country. Last year, the government awarded civil servants close to $20 as salary increment. In my last story, which is a sports story, Zambia will this evening take on African defending champions Ivory Coast in a must-win match in Ndola at Levi Mwanawasa Stadium. In order for Zambia to qualify to the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations, they need 2 points and from 2 matches. So beginning with tonight's match at Levi Mwanawasa Stadium, Zambia, if they have to qualify, they need to beat Ivory Coast at all costs. And remember, Ivory Coast have already qualified owing to the 1-0 draw between Chad and Sierra Leone yesterday. And according to the Ivorian coach, he says he will not take it softly regardless of his country already having booked a place at the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations. He is using this match to improve on FIFA rankings. And Coach Avram Grant, on the other end, is hoping that his boys are going to rise to the occasion to ensure that the 2012 Africa Cup of Nations Zambia return to the Africa Cup of Nations in 2025, which will be held in Morocco. It is a very Africa good morning to our dear viewers. Do have a lovely weekend. Africa good morning.
Welcome to Namibia, where adventure meets tranquility. With Enjoy, you have access to a wide range of accommodations to suit every traveler's taste and budget. Experience the finest dining and hospitality Namibia has to offer. Booking your dream accommodation is just a few clicks away with Enjoy. Join thousands of happy travelers who have trusted Enjoy for their Namibian getaway. Your gateway to unforgettable Namibian adventures. Visit us today at enjoy.my.na.
Yeah, the stories from Rorisang Mokgojwe in Botswana. She can't join us today, very busy there. Oh, looks like she just managed to, which is fantastic for us. Rorisang, Dumela.
Dumela Ashton, and a very good morning to the rest of Africa.
It's good to have you. I was worried we didn't have you for today's show, considering how busy you've been with the new president and all the cabinet announcements, but we appreciate your commitment to Africa. Good morning. So let's get straight into your first story. Botswana's Vice President, also Minister of Finance, Ndaba Kgaolate, has advised President Duma Boko to consider a temporary reduction in their salaries. Tell us more.
Yes, the Vice President, Ndaba Kgaolate, who's also the Minister of Finance, was addressing the media yesterday, just right after the second batch of cabinet ministers were unveiled or announced. Now, Kgaolate does believe that the financial system in Botswana is broken and so many economic challenges facing the country, and therefore he believes that reducing or temporarily reducing their salaries, and by their, I mean the Vice President and the President, as you can see that from Ndaba Kgaolate, he says that by reducing temporarily for 1 year the salaries, it might be able to address the pressing financial challenges that are facing the country. And he did outline a few financial management practices with a focus on enhancing economic stability of the country. He also believes that this proposed salary reduction, as well as other financial will be closely monitored over the coming year as their government forms, as their government goes into action in order to evaluate its effectiveness. So he was essentially saying that the country needs to save money, and one of the ways in which to do that would be to reduce salaries of the vice president as well as of the president in order to address these pressing financial challenges. And if you can recall, Harlate is an economist by profession, so we would like to assume that he knows what he's talking about. And we are looking forward to seeing that, as it is a first in Botswana. We've never seen officials take a salary cut before, so this is quite new, and we're looking forward to that.
All right, very interesting gesture there. Good advice is what we're hearing from a lot of folks on the internet, but let's see how it all transpires. Now, Botswana's president, very busy, Duma Boko, has appointed economist Bogolo Kene Wendo as Minister of Mines, signaling his administration's commitment to securing a favorable diamond deal with De Beers. Tell us more.
All right, Bufalo Kelo was part of the cabinet ministers that were unveiled yesterday. She is now the Minister of Minerals. She's a young lady, and she's also a former trade minister under the previous regime or administration or under President Mokgweetsi Masisi. She was dropped from cabinet and she left government in order to pursue other endeavors. But now she's back as the Minister of Minerals. She's also an economist. And this is happening just after she was appointed as the Minister of Minerals. We had the DBS CEO as well as Anglo American courtesy visit to President Duma Boko, which does signal the administration's commitment to securing a favorable deal. Now, this is important because the previous administration had a deal in place, but it was yet to be signed. And the current president had actually criticized it for not being favorable. So the and Botswana, they are looking forward to negotiating a deal that will boost national benefits from the country's diamond wealth. It's also important because Botswana is heavily reliant on diamond exports. So it faces that economic challenge because currently diamond sales are down, and that is why there is an economic crisis. And that is actually how Duma Boko ascended to presidency, because the nation felt like there was an economic crisis under the previous regime, so needed a new government to sort of steer the economy in a good way. So the fact that negotiations are proceeding between the years, between Anglo American and between the government of Botswana, you know, the nation is hopeful, and they are hopeful that Bufolo Kenewendo, who is the newly unveiled or appointed minister, will steer these negotiations in a favorable manner for both parties, because it's of Duma Boko's strategy, a strategy that will then bring economic reform to the country.
All right, yeah, we know. I mean, that's arguably the most important core issue in Botswana, and we'll certainly be keeping an eye on how the diamonds are managed. In your last story, the Botswana Football Association has named South African Morena Reboli as the Zebras' interim head coach.
Yes, the Zebras, that's the Botswana national football team, will be playing today as well on Tuesday. And they just need one win from these two matches in order to qualify for the African Cup of Nations. This is important, especially for the new coach, the new interim coach, who's a South African, Morena. The Botswana Football Association believes that because the Zebras have been on a losing streak for a while now, and they've only qualified for AFCON only one time in 2012, this is the right guy who will steer the Zebras in the right direction. They are close to a return The only thing that they need is one win from either today's game or the one on Tuesday. And the Botswana Football Association does believe that this is the right guy to take to the AFCON. And today is the one of the qualifying matches. It will be held in the second capital city of Botswana in France. And people are excited about it because honestly, Zebras has been on a losing streak, but the country is right behind the national team, is right behind the boys. They want them to return to the big boys table and at least have a qualifier for them. And we really are looking forward to that. We do hope that Zebras will return and this new coach who is coaching in another town in Jwaneng will actually be the right man to do the job.
Rory, thank you so much for bringing us the news stories as they are from Botswana.
Thank you very much for having me. And we lost the connection there for a little bit. I'm so glad we're back on. So thank you very much.
Truly appreciate it. Let's swing over to the weather predictions. It's time to have a look at the economic indicators just before we head into the sport with Ari.
Everyone, time for international sports news, and starting off with soccer news first. It is the English Premier League that takes a break, and it's the UEFA Nations League that will continue. Some of the best teams in Europe that will play for their teams, their national teams. And there's big games. Firstly, on Friday, that will be Denmark that play against Spain. That will be in Group 4. Then also a big game on Sunday. It will be Italy that will host France, and that is a game in Group 2. Also playing in Group 2 is England, and England do have a few challenges, lots of challenges with injuries, and it is the captain of England, Harry Kane, that said he's not happy with all the injuries of the team, and it is 9 injuries in total. He was implicating that there's some of the players that's maybe not injured and not available. He said that country must come before club. Some of the players that's injured over the weekend, Trent Alexander-Arnold of Liverpool, he was injured in his game against Aston Villa. And then also it was Declan Rice was injured in the game Arsenal versus Chelsea. Some of the big names also not on the injury list, not being able to play for England is Cole Palmer, then also Jack Grealish, and then also Phil Foden, that's not available to play for England over the weekend. Also the goalkeeper, Aaron Ramsdale, not available. So lots of players injured. So England do have a challenge when they play on Thursday and on Sunday. Continuing with tennis news, it's the ATP men's finals being played in Turin in Italy. A better result for Carlos Alcaraz in his second game. He lost his first game against Casper Ruud, but beat Andrei Rublev by 6-3 and 7-6 in his second game. He still needs to play against Alexander Zverev. Alexander Zverev is showing good form. He beat Casper Ruud in his second game. It was 7-6 and 6-3, that final score there. That Casper Ruud can still go through to the semi-finals if he beat Andrei Rublev in his third and final group game. Closing of today's international sports news with rugby news. It is the rugby internationals that continue over the weekend. Wales play on Sunday against Australia. That is in Cardiff. And the coach of Wales, Warren Gatland, made 4 changes, 2 injury-enforced changes for the game against Australia. It is Thomas Williams injured his shoulder. He's out of the game. And also it is Mason Grady that's also not available to play for Wales. And it is Wales that lost 10 consecutive games now in international tests. And it is a record. It will be a record 11th loss if they lose against Australia this coming weekend. So lots of pressure on Warren Gatland in that rugby test. That's international sports news for today. I hope it's a great sport day for everyone. We talk again sport, international sport, tomorrow. Goodbye.
DSTV2 at 5, GoTV 25, OneUp2.com, and Network Media Hub on YouTube is where you've been finding us every single weekday. Thank you for tuning into Africa Good Morning from me, Ashwin Berry, and the Africa Good Morning team. Have a wonderful weekend. But first, Sweda Jokanaka.